When I started posting my cooking videos, one of the questions I wasn't really expecting to get was about the use of my electric burners. I ended up getting quite a few inquiries about them, both on Instagram and TikTok. And what I learned is that induction burners are not as common as I thought. So when I got asked to do a video about a kitchen technology that I had been using for years, I gladly obliged. Because it wasn't just a great way to cook, it was also good for your health and the environment. A few years ago, if you asked me which was my favorite heat source to work with, I would have said gas. Probably 90% of the cooks out there will say the same. Electric coils and glass tops are nightmares to deal with at any level of cooking. That changed when I learned about induction burners. I started with just one plug-in cooktop. I had it for years and I used it frequently when I did my pop-ups. It was great because in pop-up situations there isn't always a vent, and I could get away with using this where portable gas burners were not allowed. As I got used to it, I started using it more and more, expanding my collection to the point where they are now pretty much all I use. Oh cool, I'm cooking with magnets, I thought. And that excited the techie in me, but as I used it more, I realized there were a lot of benefits to having this as a regular part of my kitchen arsenal. Basically, the trick with induction is that there is a magnetic field working so that the pan is heating itself from within. If you think about it that way, it becomes easier to understand. With any other burner, in some way you're waiting for that source of heat, whether it be a coil or a glass top or a flame, to push that heat through the pan. With induction, depending on how you're using it, it's pretty much immediate. It's not really making any kind of sacrifices versus an open flame as much as it's just an adjustment in timing. There's less time you have to react, and that takes some getting used to, but over time you'll be just as efficient with it as you would a gas flame. Besides energy savings, there are other benefits to induction for your home. As a cook who worked in multiple kitchens, and as someone who ran his own space, I value the comfort of my crew, and working all day in a hot kitchen is exhausting. The fact that induction produces very little waste heat was my main reason for making the switch. My small kitchen was much cooler, and the lack of fumes meant that I wouldn't have to spend money on high-powered ventilation. I'd later learn that the harmful fumes from gas burners is a massive source of indoor air pollution. It only reinforced my thinking to make the full switch for my home. Other benefits include the fact that they're safer for families since they don't have any exposed flames, and they're way easier to clean, which to me is a huge selling point. As this technology becomes more accessible, I do think those of us with access to it have the responsibility to adopt this from a climate standpoint. Fossil gas is now the largest source of climate pollution in the United States. Numerous studies show that moving to clean electric appliances for heating and cooking is the most cost-effective and lowest risk solution to cutting climate pollution from buildings, which account for 29% of US emissions and 40% of emissions globally. Not everyone has the privilege of doing this, I know, but as someone who does, I see it as a personal responsibility. Honestly, it wasn't much of a sacrifice. It's only made my life easier in the long run.